And we are live, and there was no intro video for some reason. Welcome to Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast that celebrates the fact that Celtic's fan base is absolutely all over the planet. From Loch Lomond to Leipzig, Broxburn to Bruges. Wherever you're watching from, you're very much part of a Celtic world. And joining us today, we have two faces, both familiar to avid viewers. The unmistakable shape of Paul in Perth. Hello, Paul.
How are you, Gav? Good to be here.
Always great to have you. And making his third appearance, we have Tam, Dumbarton Tam, all the way from Seoul, CSC. How's it going, Tam?
Great. How are you?
Tickety-boo, tickety-boo. Now, we had a bit of a last-minute panic there with various technical matters, compounded by the lack of intro. So hello to everyone who's in the comments. Please let us know if you can hear everyone clearly. That would be good. As you can see, I've put a comment in the comments pleading for conversation to be limited to Celtic football, all the other stuff that we chat about here, not US politics, please. There's plenty of other places you can go to discuss that and fight amongst yourselves. It will not be tolerated on this platform. There's no such thing as free speech. This is anyway. All right. So what we're going to talk about was pretty simple. What we're talking about today, so simple in fact that I haven't prepared a little menu. We're obviously going to be talking about the game and everything that surrounds it, and how wonderful it is to be a Celtic fan these days. It's absolutely ridiculous. And of course, we're going to be previewing the next game in Scotland. So what I haven't done, like I normally do, Tam, is take, stills of the game and then we go through it in minute detail, because we've all seen the goals 1,000 times. We've probably consumed lots of other people talking about them. There's no point in going over that old ground. I want to talk about, the spectacle, the event, our thoughts and feelings, all of that sort of stuff. So why don't we kick that off by me adding this, and we'll talk through some of the picks of around the game, basically. So, Paul, do you want to comment on this one?
Yeah, I missed his interview, but yeah, Big Victor Wanyama was back, and yeah, obviously involved in one of the most famous nights in, I was going to say, recent history. It's 12 years ago since we beat Barcelona. And Wanyama's goal sort of gets forgotten a little bit because it was the opener, but brilliant header at the back post, and then obviously the one that everyone remembers is the Tony Watt goal, which ultimately was the winner. But yeah, I'm sure he got a fantastic reception, and yeah, a great player for Celtic down the years.
Indeed. And did you see him in the seats near the tunnel? He was like high-fiving some of the players as they were coming off. I don't know if you saw that, Tom.
Nah, I missed that.
And in CC, at least. No, so that was good to see. But there was plenty of other exciting faces in the crowd. Tom, you'll know who this is.
No, I'm not sure.
It's Alex Ferguson, of course.
Oh,
yeah.
His face is changing.
Yeah, he's looking a bit. He's looking pretty old. He looks a bit like Kevin Rudd there, but yeah,
Kevin Rudd.
Kevin Rudd, yeah.
But
we're not allowed to talk about Paul. No, Kevin Rudd's a former Prime Minister of Australia.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you
but we're not allowed to talk
Watt.
politics, so we're not allowed to talk politics. So I should have probably left that out.
Yeah. Jim Craig in attendance.
Legend.
Did you see this? This is the tifo. I read of our heroes. I wanted the same. I mean, that's a fantastic looking thing there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Look at that. Impressive, Tom, eh?
Aye.
Those are lyrics from a famous song by the Wolf Tones. And fireworks. Lots of fireworks going off.
Yeah, the commentators were thoroughly enjoying the Guy Fawkes night malarkey because I don't know. I had Martin Tyler, I think, on Stan Sports in Australia, and he used the it's fireworks night, and there'll be fireworks on the pitch at least 3 times during the course of the 90 minutes. So, it was easily set up for him. But he wasn't wrong. It was an absolute cracker.
And Tony Haggerty, our friend from Celtic Way, is making much of people will remember this 5th of November. Keep saying it.
I bet he is.
Loving that. Let's see some more picks. Fulton County Fenians. That's a recognisable face from our Fulton County Fenians CSC episode. They picked a good game to go to, didn't they?
Didn't they just?
This is the LA Celtic Supporters Club.
Fantastic.
With Tony Curran there, front and centre.
Right.
Do you know Tony Curran, Tom? You recognise him?
Right. I just read about his he's always on the Twitter X now, but yeah, talking about Celtic. So he's a legend.
Mm-hmm. There's some lovely ladies. Just random pictures of people in the crowd.
You just randomly picked on these, did you, Gav?
Well, it's only fans.
Oh dear.
What? I'm just picking fans. That's all I mean by that.
The guy next to them looks a bit past worse for wear.
Look at this. This is Killian. Now, Tom, you know Michael, who contributes to Celtic World, who lives in Italy, lives in Rome. This is his son, who's suffers from an eye condition called aniridia, so he's kind of partially sighted.
Right.
And this is him. He was at the match, so we've got some pics and a video of them. And look at this. Really? He's getting to meet Joe Hart. Pretty awesome. Look how happy he looks.
Aye. You can feel it, from the fall.
There it was his first time at Celtic Park. Absolutely brilliant.
You'll struggle to top it, to be honest.
I know, what a game to go to.
Jammy bastard.
It's insane. I mean, a full house, European night, historic victory. That's an insane match. For Mickey to have brought Killian to that as his first visit to Celtic Park, that's absolute insanity. So how are we getting on in the comments? Yes, this is good. I'm enjoying the absence of trouble. 420 somewhere saying hello. Monty is giving us the rundown of the dramatis personae as always. He likes to call me Dickie. Volkswagen, what a battering ram he was. Joe Hart's commentary was class, says Mickey Moynihan. Yeah, he was very good, wasn't he, on comms? I heard people saying that on the previous European night, which I didn't hear. But he was full of insight, wasn't he? Very wise. He's been around the block. Did you enjoy listening to him? Tam's nodding.
Well, yeah, he wasn't on my version, but I hear he was as good as ever.
Were you listening to Joe Hart, Tom?
No, I couldn't, because there's no the commentary available in South Korea, so I couldn't make it for any hearing for commentary. But I'm pretty sure Joe Hart would be the good one. I hope he doesn't sing any kind of songs of like the be happy, don't worry, be happy during the commentary. He's a big fan of it.
Commentary.
Right.
Big Joe speaks well. Indeed he does. And he gives you insight, that's the thing. That's what they're supposed to do, co-commentators, aren't they? They're supposed to maybe point out things that you don't know or give you a bit of insight into being a professional footballer or things like that. So that was very handy. Here's a tweet from Fitzy. Days since Celtic fans watched their team win in the Champions League. 1. Days since the Rangers fans watched one of their teams win in the Champions League. 5,152. Glasgow Celtic flying the flag for Scotland in Europe's premier competition. Oh yes, this was a quite interesting thing, I thought. Have you ever considered what the words are of the Champions League music? You know, when the Champions League song plays and it's nobody knows what the hell the words are. Well, these are the words of it. We won't go into them in any great detail, but it's the words at the bottom here are the ones that you always hear. And I'm just going to play. I have a little video that explains it nicely with the words to the side. They use English, French, and German. Those are the 3 official languages. Now then, where did that go? I'm not actually going to play that. That's disappointing. I had it all set up. I'm going to pass it over to Paul to talk us through his emotions of the game and how much he enjoyed watching it and the circumstances of watching it, while I do lots of backstage filling in. Go ahead.
Thanks, Gav. Well, it was just a fantastic night. In terms of context, when I reflect back, I think you've got to go back to 2003 when Celtic beat Olympic Lyon at Celtic Park 2-0, when Lyon were one of the best teams on the continent, for a night where we controlled a game against an absolute top-class opposition in the Champions League and dominated and deserved. We've had other great results. I touched the Barca game earlier, but most of those other results, we've really rode our luck, or we've been backs to the wall, or we've sort of dragged it out of somewhere. Apart from maybe a 10-15 minute spell where they scored and they probably should have scored another, and we rode our luck a little bit from set pieces, we were really, really good. And in the second half, we were really professional. We closed the game out. They were running out of ideas long before they went down to 10 men. And when they used all their subs and they got an injury, you could see the manager and the coach sort of weighing it up. We're 3-1 down. There's not long to go. Do we leave this guy on and sort of take a major risk and potentially a bigger injury and try and have a crack at it? Or do we pull the pin, get him off, rest him up, and pretty much accept defeat? And they chose the latter. And that's probably because they didn't think they would get back in even with 11 men on the pitch. And it's about as comfortable a last 10, 15 minutes as you're ever likely to see in the Champions League, especially against opposition as good as Leipzig. I thought we were absolutely brilliant. The manager got his tactics right. There was a few raised eyebrows, including my own, when Greg Taylor was in ahead of Alex Valle, but he was absolutely vindicated in terms of how he utilised Greg Taylor. Taylor inverted. He was the extra man in midfield. We dominated midfield. And that whenever we had possession, that's where he took up ground. And then obviously he had Maeda protecting him when we were without the ball. I thought we were absolutely excellent. There was no players that fell below a solid pass mark and above. We had some players producing absolutely phenomenal performances. Cal McGregor, Kuhn, Hatate. I know we're going to chat about them in more detail to come. And we scored brilliant goals at great times. And yeah, a thoroughly professional performance. And I'll hold my own hands up here because he's not on tonight. Ian told me last week, dare to dream, and I was much more pragmatic and said, this is the second best team in the Bundesliga. If we come out with a draw, that's a great result. And in the draw, when the draw was made, I didn't expect anything out of this game. And we put as good a performance together as you're likely to see, and we thoroughly deserved our victory. And now I am fully on board with daring to dream. We've got a genuine opportunity, without getting carried away, we've got a genuine opportunity to push pretty close to that top 8. We've got 4 games left. If the Bruges result tells us anything, they beat Aston Villa. That means every game we've got left is winnable. Do I think we can win them all? Of course not. But they are winnable. If we play like we played on Tuesday night, we could beat any one of those teams. It's hard to expect that we will play as good as that in every game. And it's going to be crucial we try and keep players fit. But if we keep this team together, we keep this fitness, and we set ourselves up like we did, we're terrifying on the attack. And I'm really, really excited where the rest of this campaign goes. It would almost be inconceivable to not qualify for the playoffs at least. Young boys look like fodder. You beat them, we're through. 10 points will do it. So it's a case of how far up that table we can get. And yeah, super excited. And that's on the back of it, which I wasn't here on Monday to cover. We absolutely horsed the second best team in the country 6-0, and we were utterly unplayable and really set down a marker for everyone that said, oh, there's a title race on here. I said there wouldn't be. There isn't going to be. Celtic will win the league comfortably, and Aberdeen, Rangers, Dundee United, and everyone else can play out for second, third, and fourth. We've got a brilliant squad together here, and then the rest of the season, it could go anywhere. I'm really excited.
It's very exciting. It's hard not to be excited. It was so awesome. Like watching the game in our group chat and everything, I was just like saying, I can't believe what I'm watching here. This is just glorious. And usually when you hear the theme tune, you know, there's a thought in your mind that, you know, this could be trouble. But to partake in a Champions League night like that and to be just so good against such good opposition, it's extraordinary. I found the video here, so I'll play it for you. These are the words of that little bit that everyone hears. So there you go. You can all sing that now to the TV next time it comes on. Impress your friends down the CSC town. Be Meister.
I do the champions bit, but that's about it.
Well, that's the only bit anyone knows. That's the only bit anyone knows. Anyway, we'll come on to what it all means for the rest of the Champions League, this stage, whatever you call it, the league stage of the Champions League. Anyway, let's have a look at some stats. I know everybody loves stats. Here's some fun stats, first of all. Don't know if you can see these. Celtic have won 3 consecutive Champions League home games for the first time since November 2007 under Gordon Strachan. Leipzig are the first German side to lose their first 4 Champions League games in a single campaign since Stuttgart 2007-8. Nicholas Kuhn became the first Celtic player to score 2 goals in the first half of a Champions League or European Cup match since Roy Aitken in October 1979. Wow. Celtic last netted more goals, currently 9 this term, in a Champions League European Cup campaign in 77-78. Kuhn has been directly involved in 19 goals for Celtic in all competitions, at least 7 more than any of his teammates. And Schmeichel became the joint oldest player to play in a Champions League match on his birthday, along with David Seaman for Arsenal against Schalke. Wow. So, I mean, there's some interesting historical stats there, Tom. I mean, this history is being rewritten. You know, Celtic modern history is exciting, is it not?
Absolutely. And if you see every single kind of thing on the figures, it really sees like the go back to the days when we were really winning in the European games. But, you know, I think what we're really happy about is more than just stats, because the performances on the field was something like we are the one who can dominate the game in the European stage. So, you know, a lot of people still have some sort of doubt about like the level of Scottish football. So I think Celtic showed them like this is what we got. So I'm really happy about that, you know, more than just figures.
Yep. And then the key stats, obviously 3-1 possession, you can see there, 56-44. We're not going to go into the incredibly detailed stats. These are obviously just the main overview ones. I mean, there's no question we were good for the victory. Fantastic. So good to see. All right. Well, let's talk about players then. And obviously we're going to start, Tom, with Nicholas Kuhn, man of the match. How good was he?
I mean, he's one of the best we got now. You know, like I don't know what happened like since he's joined, you know, to Celtic, because, you know, when he joined, he doesn't look that much brilliant as like he does now. But I think obviously he can just fill in every single time, like when it's kind of any spaces happening like behind the enemy. I mean, the opposite back four. But in the same time, he can just have ability to find that spaces, and also he can just draw the ball and drawing the opponent players out from their positions. He's so good at everything, like required for the winger. So I'm really happy to see on the pitch now. And to be honest, that's what I feel. Even though I'm Korean, I really wish I could see these kind of performances from Yang when he joined Celtic, but he couldn't just live up the the hopes. So that's one like the kind of downside I could see from him. But I think he's really happy with what Kuhn's contribute to the Celtic right now.
Oh, he's absolutely on fire. It's ridiculous. And well, it's all been said. What hasn't been said about him, Paul, this season? You know, since the start of this season, since pre-season, he's been on fire. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, look, I think what sort of came out after this sort of poor start to his Celtic career last year was that he obviously had these wisdom teeth issue, and after surgery he lost a lot of weight. I can't remember how many. It was like quite a few kilos, which if you're a professional athlete is, you haven't got the ability to lose as many kilos that I clearly have, but he couldn't have.
Yeah. Have you not been looking into the option, maybe?
Yeah, no, my mouth. It'll surprise you to hear that my mouth is big enough to fit my wisdom teeth without any operation. They're still in there. But yeah, like he clearly wasn't right. He probably shouldn't have been playing. That game against Motherwell, he looked like he was towing a truck, and he was slow and all over the place. And the classic Celtic support wrote him off after 3 games, the usual story. And now he's completely unplayable. The fact we got him for £3 million is absolutely ludicrous. Obviously, vultures are circling already. He will clearly go at some point for ridiculous money. So it's a case of, you were touching on it the other night about protecting yourself and accepting that players are going to move on. I was having a conversation with my brother the other night, who was lucky enough to be at the game, and I think my mum put a comment on earlier on to say that she'd given him his ticket. So he was a lucky bugger as well. But he was at the match, and he was saying to me afterwards, sort of yesterday morning, that he worries that the squad, that people will come for him. And I said, well, look, we've got to embrace that. The model is we buy players, we give them a platform, and they will, if they achieve, they're gonna move on. What we need to do is make sure that we've got proper pipeline talent management, and we're leveling up every time we sell these players. So he was absolutely brilliant. I'd like to think we can hang on to him on another season beyond this, but enjoy him while he's here. He's lightning quick. He's making better decisions all the time. One of the criticisms of him early on, and even earlier in the season, was his decision making wasn't always perfect. And it still isn't, but his decision making is getting much better. And I think when he plays with a level of freedom and doesn't overthink it, he's just class. He can come inside, outside, and beyond the stats on goals and assists, he's also like the +1 assist, if you call it that, so that the pass before the assist. He's heavily involved in that as well. He's brave, he'll put himself in, and he gets clattered. He goes in with a head, he goes in, nicks the ball, and he takes heavy challenges. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. And long may it continue. But yeah, another one to enjoy while we can, because I doubt he will be at Celtic for forever.
Well, it's almost like you're teeing me up to say that he deserves some sort of musical tribute. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Well, if there was such a thing ready, it's long been a complaint of mine that the musical tributes have seemed to drift off. So in a week like this, if we haven't got a musical tribute in a week like this, I don't know what we're up to. We
have a musical tribute, and I always get nervous before I hit play on these things, Tam. I don't know if you've seen many of these little Celtic karaoke, we call them, because you don't expect the singing to be too good, like in real karaoke. And anyway, shall I just play it and bite the bullet? This is in praise of Nicholas Kuhn, and a bit like the previous musical thing that we did, there's a little bit of German in it. So in case you have trouble with the opening line, it's about him being a Fußballspieler, football player.
Football player, yes.
Yeah.
Why Germans? Not too bad.
All right. Here you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Back to your best.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Wunderbar and Thoughts of Jota No More might have been my favourite rhyming couple.
My screen keeps going blank here. Yes, that was an enjoyable one. Quite enjoyed that. Love the tune, the original Kraftwerk. And it seems to be kind of appropriate for him. Not only is he German, but he's got that sort of emotionless approach, doesn't he? You know, you saw when he scored the goal, he hardly broke a smile.
Yeah.
It's a bit like watching Kraftwerk on stage, just 4 guys with laptops. Anyway, there you go. Herr Niklas Kuhn. Right, did that break up a bit for you?
It's kind of, it was jumping a little bit.
Jumping in the middle, wasn't it?
Ever so slightly. There was like a silent click every so often. But not enough to enjoy the... It seemed to be in the instrumentals rather than in the lyrics. Yeah. So, nah, all good.
Cool. Niklas Kuhn. Right, let's talk about someone else. Oops, not that. I want to do this. Rio Hatate, Tom. The Celtic get excited when they see him play.
Aye. He's been brilliant, you know. I think it's the Japanese players we got, like the one of the best, like every got their own character, and then the Hatate is the one of the player who can actually control the midfield at the time, and is very vital for the kind of stages like a Champions League, you know, because it's all about midfield these days. If you can't just possess the ball in the midfield, you can't do anything. But Hatate is phenomenal. He's a great player, and he also could score the goal at the last. I mean, the last one. So I loved him.
I'm just looking at some of these comments here that I wasn't.
Yeah, he's a German in Deutsche.
Responding to the tune there. Very good. Yeah, Hatate, that it was excellent. Gotta say.
Well, and yeah, he was.
You get the feeling that you know, if anyone needed a game to sort of really find their way into Rodgers' heart properly, you know, this was it for Hatate. You know, you get the feeling that Rodgers really appreciated that. And it's kind of been a long time coming between those two. Is that fair to say, Paul?
Well, I think Rodgers is, you often, certainly last season, you'd often see him after the match deep in conversation with Hatate, arm round him, sort of in, you know, there was clearly good dialogue. But it's fair to say that most of last season, obviously he was injured for a chunk, but when he came back, performances lifted, but he didn't necessarily look like he was firing on all cylinders. And again, this season, like he's been involved in games when we've played well, and he's played his part in that, but sort of as a cog in the machine. I think against Aberdeen, the only thing missing from his performance on Saturday was a goal. He was absolutely brilliant on Saturday against them. And you hoped he could bring that into the Leipzig game. And if anything, he lifted his level again. He was phenomenal. He played some brilliant passes. Like he does the hard work. He gets through a power of work. Obviously, he's first press pretty much up there with Kyogo. But he played 2 passes that were borderline unplayable. He slid that pass through to Maeda second half, which is just incredible. And that one to put Kuhn in that, you know, he probably might have been offside, but then he put it over the bar. Just absolutely class, absolutely at the level that
pass to Kyogo that he tried to then square for Maeda as well.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry, yeah, So
that was gorgeous.
He hit these heights in his first sort of 6 to 12 months, and then obviously with injuries and other bits and pieces, he's never really got back to that absolute peak that he sort of. I think he's past that now. I think Tuesday night was his best performance in a Celtic shirt. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, the keeper made a fumble, but you know, there's actually, like, if you look at that back from the second angle, it just sneaks in below the bar. But if you look at it, he doesn't have any time to think or any time to decide what he's got. It's just a reaction hit. Yeah. It's just a reaction hit, and he manages to control it enough to get in the goal. So it's a really good finish, albeit close in. Yeah, you can only hope he can stay fit. And yeah, he's got other, you know, it'd be hard for him to hit other levels, but you know, with Rodgers' support, training ground, if you can hit that at a consistent level, we all go up, you know, the whole team goes up a notch.
Well, we're just going to run through a few of the players. I think those I would put in the excellent category would be Kuhn, Hatate, McGregor, as David points out here.
Phenomenal.
And Schmeichel, was excellent. When called upon, he did wonderful things. So, yeah, Callum McGregor, we know what he does, but he did it so well. Kept the ball moving.
He was brilliant.
He was sliding through the midfield. He was commanding. He looked so fluid and commanding, didn't he, Tam? Like a proper... he was just phenomenal, I thought. Tam?
I just, I thought, Callum McGregor is the one that I just always thinking of him to be great. After Scott Brown, is gone, I thought the place it couldn't be replaced by someone else's, but the Callum McGregor show is absolutely fantastic. I think for the games against an Aberdeen, he's going to be outclass anyone in the midfield, but the game against the Leipzig was I couldn't imagine that before the game, but it was fantastic. I love that. I want to, especially the thing that I just can mention about his passes. Sometimes I can't imagine beforehand, but he doing the good passes through the midfield. So I love to see that he gonna just put more balls up the head than expected. Most of the time I see him playing the protecting the back four, but I want to see more the box to box than going up. They see the kind of scoring goal sometimes. So I want to see more be up front, but he's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I think he was essential for many of those moments in the game that I was watching with disbelief when, the intricacy of our passing, one-touch passing among 4 or 5 players in tight spaces. And sometimes when that happened in the game, I'm just sitting there in disbelief, honestly. I thought, this is better than Celtic. I can't believe we're doing this.
True. It's...
I
Yep.
was going to say, my favourite moment of McGregor's is just in the very early lead up to the third goal. The ball breaks from the back line, and he picks it up right on the edge of our sort of D, and we've got the back 4 are back, but everyone else is upfield. I can't remember the play immediately before that. We must have been up there. They played it long, and then so he's got it, and he runs from his normal position towards the right wing, and he's getting hounded by a Leipzig players chasing him down. But he has, in the section of the pitch he's in, he's no pass on, he's no pass back, he has no pass forward, and there's nobody anywhere in sort of his wider vision. And it would have been really easy for him with players up the pitch just to kind of hit a hopeful punt lob up there for somebody to try and win, hold up, or chase down. He doesn't. Even though he's got a player absolutely hounding him and right up his back, he chooses to stop, turn, go back the way, find a pass, and to your point, Gav, then he's involved. There's intricate passing, and they play out and through, and then he plays it up. Then it gets played up the wing, and we're away. And obviously, we know what happens after that. The ball comes in, the keeper spills it, and Hatate tucks it away. But that all came because he was brave enough on the ball to hold possession, hold off the pressure and the press, and find a man, and then the team was good enough to play out of it. I thought we were absolutely brilliant in terms of our play under the press. They couldn't live with it. And then our press, in turn, we were all over them. We got the press badly wrong in Dortmund, and we were too gung-ho with the press, and we were disconnected. We pressed well against Atalanta, and we pressed even better against Leipzig. The press for the second goal is just brilliantly worked. We're in injury time. There's only 1 minute of injury time or 2 minutes of injury, whatever it is. We know, and McGregor must be leading that on the pitch, we know that there's not an opportunity really for them to break. So there's only upside for us on that press. And we charge after them. We hunt in packs. We win it back. They look shell-shocked. And then Hatate and Kyogo gets out of the way, and Hatate has the sort of confidence on the ball and the calmness to sort of pick his way to the byline, and then obviously feed in Taylor, who plays a good ball across the box. And then you've got Dyson Maeda with a brilliant dummy by Maeda, and then Kuhn's in there to tuck it away for the second. So yeah, I just thought we were brilliant in midfield. We were brilliant off the pitch, but we were brilliant in midfield and led by McGregor, Hatate. And look, I thought Engels had a good game as well, to be honest.
Well, let's deal with Schmeichel as well. He was called upon a couple of times to make really important saves.
That save was a cracker.
Thanks, Monty. Yeah, it was a cracker. Very important. And did you hear him interviewed? He was like, I'm just doing my job. That's what I'm there for. So matter of
He's
fact.
right, but he's right. But that's the difference between an okay Celtic goalie and a great Celtic goalie is you might only get called upon 2 or 3 times a game. And he probably made 3 saves. One in the first half, very early on when it was probably going wide. He didn't need to make the save. And then he made that kind of full diving save to the right side second half, which was at a good height, but it's still a good save. But that was the pick of the bunch. That could have easily squirmed in even with a hand on it. So he did brilliant. And I think that was just not long before, literally within a few minutes, I think we scored the third, and we could have been going 2-2, and suddenly it's 3-1 and it's game over.
Yeah, so everyone definitely played their part. It's got to be said. The centre-back pairing worked out fine in the end, although Trusty was at fault, you would have to say, for the first goal. Give the ball away.
I don't think he is.
Cheaply.
I don't think he. Well, no? I think Engels loses his man. To be honest, Engels loses his man.
I would maybe need to look at it again, but I remember watching it at the time and thinking, I had previously said, if Scales gets dropped for the Aberdeen game and then doesn't play in the Champions League, something's going to happen that's going to make that look like a bad decision. Ultimately, that didn't really happen, but the first goal turned out to not be decisive. But at the time, I was thinking, Scales, he would never have done that.
Well, it looks like it could be in Trusty's area, but the guy that scores on us, is it Baumgarten? I think the Austrian lad. He runs off the back of Engels, and he kind of gets caught sort of ball watching a little bit. And by the time he realizes he's in behind him, and obviously the flick from Cameron Carter-Vickers is ultimately what causes it. He tries to get his head on it to defend it, and he doesn't get enough on it, and actually just flicks it into a really dangerous area, and then we've got a problem. But yeah, this is the one I was talking about. The save that didn't really need to make a save. Like, he gets his angles a bit wrong, and he turns it around the post, but it's definitely going wide. And then there's a corner, and we didn't really learn our lesson. Like, it was clear that the corners from that left hand side, the in-swingers on the right foot from Campbell, were going to be childish. We're going to be a problem. And we made kind of relatively cheap clearances there over the next sort of 10 minutes. So I feel like if we were giving them away on the other side where they were going to be out-swinging, it wouldn't have been quite as dangerous. But the in-swingers from Campbell were, they were definitely a problem, and something for us to work on. Set pieces, both boxes haven't been our strongest suit, and we've been getting better on both, but there's still work to do at the top level.
Okay, you may have picked up, Tam, there was a little moment of editing error there when I was trying to upload Killian's video to make sure we played that. We've got a little bit of footage provided by Mickey and Killian. I don't know if this is going to take up the full screen. Anyway, here it is.
How do you think the game went today?
I think Celtic played extremely well. Thought it was well deserved to win as well.
Yeah, excellent. You enjoyed the match?
Loved it. Great fun.
Good atmosphere?
Great atmosphere. Best fans in the world.
Excellent. Good job. See you later.
What seats they had, huh? Right behind the dugout there.
Right. Amazing.
And of course, as you can see, Mickey is keeping alive the tradition of Celtic World contributors filming like that, not like that, just so it looks really bad. But
it might be the age demographic.
Yeah. Well, it was Mickey was doing the filming. Well, that's what you mean, isn't it? If he was younger, more with
Possibly.
it. But they obviously had an amazing time. So that was great to see. Okay. Let's keep going through some picks then. You mentioned Engels. There he is, Engels with Kuhn. You know, there's been a lot of talk, you see, online about, well, these two players. Check out this. This is a guy on Twitter. His name is Johnny X Scotland. This is why I'm not a football scout or a manager, and he's going back over all his tweets about how crap Kuhn is. Kuhn is pish. It's German for fraud. He's a shite bag. You think he'd spell his name right at least once, but he's consistent on that front.
Right.
And consistent in saying how awful he was. And you think he's learned his lesson? Well, no. This is what he says about Engels.
No.
Engels so far, for me, is not living up to that price tag. Downgrade on Matt O'Reilly. So there's the misspelling, and then there's the term for me. Those are the two red flags. I can't stand either of those things. For me. He has to prove himself to me. I have a higher bar of expectation than you plebs who don't understand football. That's what for me sounds like. So yeah, have you seen some of this? People saying Engels is pish. He's not up to it. What a waste of money. All this nonsense from our knee-jerk fans, Paul.
I have. I've seen less of it since Saturday, to be honest. I thought he was fantastic against Aberdeen.
Still plenty of it.
Well, you know, these are the same people that would argue black's white. He's I can't say often enough that he is clearly a quality player. He's clearly added plenty of good performances. Is he going to be a little bit inconsistent? Of course he is. It's the first time in his career he's playing Champions League football. It's the first time in his career he's been asked to consistently play 2 games a week. He's also got a big price tag and a record fee hanging around his neck, which our fan base aren't short to sort of. This is the thing. I said this elsewhere, but I'll say it again. The thing that really pisses me off about Celtic fans and this type of stuff is we demand we spend more money on players. And as soon as we do, we are quick to go, they're not worth it. Why have we spent that much on a player? Like, you can't please them. We can't please, and it's football fans in general. It's not just Celtic fans. But, you know, if we should surely have learned by now to give players a chance. He's won multiple man of the matches. He's clearly a penalty taker. He can pass. He's got a great engine. He's clearly a proper modern midfielder. But he's also 21 years of age. It doesn't matter whether you paid £1 million for you, 11 million quid for you, or 30 million quid for you. At that age, you're still going to be inconsistent. There's players coming out of the Premier League getting 30 and 40 million quid spent on them. They've had 300-400 minutes of professional football. It's just a nonsense to expect that because we paid 11 million for a player, it's going to be the completely finished article. He might not be an upgrade on Matt O'Reilly yet, but he's definitely a better player than when Matt O'Reilly signed at the same time. So just because we spent more money on him doesn't necessarily mean that you expect to get a 10 times better player at the beginning. I agree with Monty. He absolutely will be a star. He's another one we can enjoy for as long as we've got him. He's gotten a lot. And his cross for the first goal against Aberdeen was brilliant. It's not his first set piece like that. That's obviously a work in progress, but he's got it in his locker. He had 2 brilliant passes against Leipzig, including the one round the corner, which played Kuhn in for the first goal. He had a couple of assists, obviously the corner and the one in for Kuhn on the weekend as well. And people are going, he's only scoring from penalties. Well, we couldn't score penalties that pretty recently. So I'll take a player that scores every penalty that he's got and adds assists. Super high ceiling for him. I think he's been a brilliant signing. Let's be signing more 10, 11, 12 million pound 20-year-old, 21-year-old kids and get them in the team. Get 2 or 3 years out of them and then sell them for a fortune and add another one in. The fact what we should really be doing here is buying these players, giving them a platform in the Champions League, developing them, allowing them to win trophies, play in a pressure environment. Yeah, they'll go somewhere where there's a richer league. A lot of them might not see, the love, and maybe Celtic will be the highlight of their career. They're not going to know until they finish. But the more that are successful and pass through the door and go to bigger clubs for big money, the more will come, because there's clearly an opportunity to develop your career at a young age. So, you know, I'm all for it. We're doing a great job with some of these signings in the last sort of 12, 18 months. And yeah, let's keep it going.
Let's keep the Champions League chat going then. Let's have a look at some other results. Any of these jump out at you, Tam or Paul? If you see any of these that you want to comment on. Bruges
For
Villa.
me,
Bruges
for
Villa.
me, well, Bruges Villa is an incredible result. I only watched the highlights, but a really interesting one. Bruges probably had the better of the game on the highlights, so it's only 3 or 4 minutes, but only in so much as they both had reasonably half chance, I'd call it. Shots from in and around the edge of the box, just inside the box, just outside the box. Bruges probably had more saves and hit the post. Villa pulled a lot just past the post. Bruges, Bruges will be a tough game. They've sort of struck the model that we should be. They're at like 4 or 5 years into the Champions League now and have progressively got better. But they are a team that are of a similar level to us. We should absolutely be giving them a game at home. I think because we've beaten Leipzig, there's an assumption that there'll be a walkover. That's definitely not the case, and this game's a good reminder. But the goal to win that match is just absolutely ludicrous. If you haven't already seen it, Aston Villa get a goal kick, and Martinez, the keeper, plays it to Mings, who's just back after a 14-month layoff from an ACL injury. And it's just a scuffed little 3-yard goal kick. And Mings obviously doesn't think the goal kick's been taken, and he bends down and scoops it up with one hand and then places it back on the 6-yard box and does a little side pass back to the goalie. And the ref blows up and gives a penalty for handball because the game was live. Everyone looks incredulous on both sides. The fans, the camera pans to the fan base. They're all looking incredulous and then laughing when they realise what's actually happened. Hello. And the Bruges skipper steps up and scuds one right down the middle. Very Aaron Engels, actually, like. With a great little penalty straight down the middle. And they see it out. So yeah, that's the other results. The Brest result was not to give you an opportunity to be ridiculous, but they're still ticking along. They're still in the top 8. It's another win for them. And yeah, there's, Atletico got their first win. Obviously beat PSG. Inter have beaten Arsenal. Young boys lose again. I think that's RB Salzburg's first win in the tournament. So, where are we now? 15th, I think we are.
This is the table. This is the top 8.
So the top 8, you wouldn't pick this top 8 before the tournament started. Liverpool for sure, you would, and Barca. Dortmund, you just said would be there or thereabouts.
Monaco, Brest.
But Monaco, Sporting, and Brest, even Villa, punching above their weight. And there's some big names further down. There's some big names well below us as well, which shows you the level we're at so far, albeit we've had a kind draw. So yeah, City down to 10th.
Pretty in 15th.
We talked about Lille having a super difficult draw, and they're above us. So I just love this new format. It's very open.
Aye.
And this is the bottom 8, Tam. Some big names in here. We wouldn't expect to see
right.
Paris Saint-Germain, Stuttgart, Bologna, I suppose, Leipzig.
So I think it's, one of the lovely things you can see, like that you can make a kind of, right after the game, I just checked my Twitter and I saw a lot of Celtic fans just pointed out, like, what about like the Aberdeen fans just talk about the Celtic, between the financial gap between two clubs. I mean, it doesn't apply here, you know what I mean? When it comes to Champions League, you see the kind of there are a lot of so-called Minos still winning against the big clubs who spend a lot of money on this squad. So I think it's, at the end of the day, it's all about the footballing ability. So that's all we're looking for. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter like how money we spend on the cash. I mean, on this squad. So I think I love new format. Show us like different things, because the previous format gonna give you kind of you're gonna have like only 3 different opponents and only 3 different style of plays. But nowadays, you're going to have a lot of different style of the clubs you're going to face against. So you need to prove yourself. You're going to survive them.
Well, you talk about money. You talk about money there, Tam, and I see a lot of people talking about it in the comments. just a quick bit of information here that I picked up recently. For defeating Leipzig, we got 2.1 million euros. So for earning 7 points, that's 4.9 million. Add that to what we're getting for the being in the league phase, and we're up to 23.5 million, over 20 million quid, before considering revenue from 4 sold-out games. If Celtic reach the last 16 playoffs, they could gain another 1 million euro bonus and a high-profile match. Advancing to the last 16 would yield a prize of 11 million euros, more than double the reward for the SPFL Premiership. So some of these numbers are absolutely insane. So imagine we get another 6 points and we get a playoff spot. We're likely pocketing something around 28 million or so from UEFA, excluding all the gate fees. If we get another 9 points, get into the top 8, so we're likely pocketing over 40, 41, something like that. If we get into the playoff and get into the last 16, there's an extra million or so on top of that, I think. Anyway, those numbers don't have to be entirely accurate to see that, holy Moses, this is the land of milk and honey, right? And what do you think this does, to get back to the comments that you were just reading, Paul? What do you think this does to the Celtic hierarchy when they see that, this is where their bread is buttered? Doing well in this competition.
All I can think of is that Southgate meme with the dad in front of the computer, and I think we all know the rest. If you don't,
I don't. But
he's got white something sprayed all over him. So yeah, I imagine that, and his pants are half down. So he's jizzed himself, right? So this is what I imagine the Celtic board are feeling like. They're absolutely extremely excited about this kind of thing. The big crucial thing is what do they do with the money, right? We've had a pretty good window. We're probably 1 or 2 short, if we're being brutally honest, in terms of squad depth. It's okay for now. If we get 1 or 2 injuries, could be an issue. I saw some comments saying, the transfer policy's killed us for a decade. Well, the transfer policy has been pretty poor for a decade. If we look at replacing players and having a pipeline management, we need that bit right. But it's all well and good saying, don't let players go, keep the best player, keep a great team together, push on. That's not really our choice. These players at a set point don't want to continue to be playing the Premier League and playing for a few games in the Champions League, even if we're making it to past the knockout stage. They want, they've got short careers, they want to make big money, and they want to play in richer leagues, and they want to put themselves in the shop window at a higher level. So I'd love to be able to say, oh yeah, we've made a load of money, let's throw more money at the team, and we'll just keep this team together until we do something even bigger. Realistically, we're never going to win the Champions League. We can aim to be last 16, last 8 if it's a phenomenal result. And sooner or later, you come up against, the Man Cities, the Barcelonas, or whatever, and they'll beat you. So, they'll probably beat you. One of them will beat you, right? So I think we just need to, the club's got to be sustainable for the long term. But as I've talked about on the show multiple times over the last couple of years, year and a half, we need to be getting towards the Benfica model, where we're selling players for 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 million pounds. And then the replacements are in behind that, and so on and so forth. And we won't go from 25, 30. We've got to 30 with Matt O'Reilly. We're not going to go to 50. The next level's 30 more than once, 35, then 40. It happens over multiple years. And obviously wages go up and fees go up. The board's been very lax in upgrading our squad when we've made good money. We've had a strategy of too many 1, 2, 3 million projects and not enough 3, 6, 10 million. They're still gambles, right? They're not the finished article. We just talked about Arnie Engels isn't the finished article, but he's much closer to the finished article with more potential than, a player at 1 million. Now, you'll get a Matt O'Reilly every so often, but that's like winning the lottery. Even with a great scouting system, that's not going to happen very often. So I think the board have got to be brave enough to continue the policy, but try and level up year on year. And if we get the scouting team to be better, and obviously there's work gone into that, and we've appointed apparently appropriate people that will give them a chance to prove themselves, then you you ideally want the replacement for a player in. Like look at Bernardo. Bernardo was in the door before O'Reilly was out the door, and then we added Engels as well. You know, if Kuhn's going in 6, 12, 18 months, 2 years, whenever it is, I want his replacement in the door before he's out, and so on and so forth. And then we just add more as we go. So we'll wait and see what the board do. But they've had a bit of a shift with spending 9 and 11 million. The net spend was still very little, and even if I don't think it was a positive net spend, and even if it was, it's been more than outweighed by the money they've made from the Champions League. The danger is next year we've not got automatic qualification. So if we want to keep the squad together to at least qualify for the Champions League again, because this is clearly where we want to be operating, and it's clearly where we open the gap up on the opposition domestically by continuing to access that cash.
Yeah. See, what I was thinking was, the board's previous approach was kind of insular. They were that sort of, we're just one step ahead of our local rivals. We're doing all right in Scotland. That's all fine, winning domestic trophies. But in the old format, it wasn't really worth the risk, they thought, to splash out on players that much. Because what does it really get you? It maybe gets you one more game if you're lucky in Europe, and we're pretty crap. But in this new format, and because of the results we're having, there's great riches to be had, and I'm hoping that will, bring about a bit of a step change in their approach. We'll wait and see. But I want to. Ideally, we will have left that old way of thinking behind, because this is clearly the land of milk and honey, and the better results we get.
Absolutely. And the new format's an absolute breath of fresh air, and it opens it right up. You're right. If we get drawn in pot 4 and we've got to play 3 other sides above us, the strong chances are that all of those 3 sides are better than us, and we'll struggle to win many matches and many points. And in the old format, because of the seeding, you pretty much knew who was going to win the group between 1 or 2 sides, and you pretty much knew who was going to be bottom between 1 or 2 sides. There wasn't much. You occasionally a punch above your weight, but it was boring, and people didn't really want to watch it, which is why they've had to change it. And this new format, just the where we are at a halfway stage, as a tournament where we are, like with Real Madrid in the middle of the pack and team like City down in 10th. Now those teams will still be there or thereabouts at the end, I've got no doubt. But at least until we get there, there'll be a bit more interest. I think some of the danger is, and this is me looking ahead, is if some of those really strong teams end up in that middle 16, and you end up in there and we don't end up top 8, which
is likely.
We've got a chance. I'm not saying it's likely. We've got a chance. But if you end up in that 16, that's why we've got to try and get as high up that 16 as possible, or high up the table as possible, because there's going to be some strong sides that have sort of messed around a little bit and end up in the mix. So, if you end up in the playoffs, you want to give yourself a crack at it. But it's just brilliant. I'm thoroughly enjoying the new format, and it's really crucial we try and get back in next year, because there's no automatic place for Scottish teams next year.
All right. Well, speaking of Scottish teams, we better spend, since we've gone over the hour, disrespectfully short time previewing the next game. Shall we do that, Tam? Let's give it at least 2 minutes. Here's our next game. We're playing away to Kilmarnock. 11 p.m. is my kickoff time.
Really?
Kilmarnock are 8th in the table, although the form table has them up in 4th, although they've lost 2 of their last 3. Tam, are we going to be able to come down from this exciting, glamorous Champions League adventure and still put in a solid performance? 3 points, swat Kilmarnock aside.
Back to the Kilmarnock pie, I really want to have it like one day, but every time I watch it, like there's a Kilmarnock pie and the homegrown the advert. I think Kilmarnock games is always like don't know why, but I feel it's a crucial one all the time, because sometimes they bite us back, but I think we need to win it. And to be honest, these days I'm kind of pleasing myself to watching, all the other league results, and to see the kind of how the Huns to be teased, but at the same time we need to win it anyway. So I think the Kilmarnock games, we're going to see how the squad to be operated by the Brendan Rodgers between the two different competition. And to be honest, I wish to see the more different players in the second half, to be honest, because there's a lot of the good players on the bench. So we want to see how they perform against a team like Kilmarnock, and maybe you're going to see their boost their confidence level, and we're going to see have more squad depth for this Champions League as well. So I want to see more variety to come on the pitch against the Kilmarnock.
You want to see your compatriot Yang?
Of course, he need to learn more. I want him to be more like a Kun. He need to learn something from Kun, because he know how to flick the ball. I mean, the Young know how to flick the ball, but he doesn't know how to make it more efficient as much as Kun does. So I really want him to see doing something like that. So Aramida has always been great, and any players around, I want to see more variety. And Luis Palma's been okay, but nowadays I don't know what happened to him, but he doesn't catch up with the rest of the squad. So I want to see the Luis Palma to be on track as well. So I want to see more players be on form as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to Paul and ask him in just a moment who he thinks is going to make an appearance in the lineup against Kilmarnock after this short message.
Pay attention. This is totally free and great crack. The least you can do is subscribe. Do it now. Cheers.
Yes, cheers for subscribing below. 240 people watching live. That's pretty good for a young channel. It's only our second year. Did you know that, Tom? And we're pushing hard for 1,500. Yes, you heard me right. 1.5 is our next target. Not 50,000, like other people say. 1.5. So your subscription means a lot. Means a lot more. You can make a difference just by clicking that button. It's totally free. Never charged for any content or anything like that. It's just Celtic fans in different parts of the world getting together to discuss the team and the matches and who's going to play against Kilmarnock, Paul.
It's a hard one. It's not been easy to pick the team in recent games against sort of not the strongest sides. So I think we'll see a fair amount of change. I don't think we'll see this amount of change, Monty, but I would expect we'll see McCowan. We probably see Ida. I don't know if we'll change both wingers. I thought that was risky when we did it against Dundee, and I think Killie away is a tougher game. I wouldn't be surprised to see us rest CCV and bring Scales back in, given the plastic pitch and obviously his recent recovery from injuries, and he's played a lot of minutes since he came back into the team. I love how Sinisalo always gets sort of mentioned in some games that I just don't think we're going to see him. If Schmeichel's anything other than unless he's got an injury, he plays. You don't change a keeper, right? So I think we will make some changes. Probably 4, potentially maybe 5. I think we might see a mix of fresh starters and some of the core group, and then obviously maybe some sweeping changes, 60 minutes or so if we've got the game comfortable. And yeah, all things being equal, with a bit of a freshen up and players hungry for spots, I agree with Mr. Stats, Mahesh, and I think we will win by at least a couple of goals.
Well, he sounded a bit of a Champions League warning earlier in the comments. I didn't pull that one up, but
I did. We don't. I've got no time for a damp squib in this. In the aftermath of such a phenomenal performance, I think we'll keep it upbeat.
Keep it upbeat. Phenomenal performance. It was a phenomenal performance by Tam and Paul tonight. Well done, gentlemen. Thank you very much. And phenomenal performance too in the comments, I have to say. Only once did I see a mention of American politics, and then it very quickly subsided, which was nice. I was kind of worried that that was going to take over, dominate the whole conversation. But yeah, the main concern didn't show up in the comments. The person I thought that was really going to cause all the problem. So I'll leave it up to you to guess who that might be, everyone. But anyway, thank you very much. It's always a delight to see so many people chatting away and chatting with us. This shows as much by you as it is by us. We just happen to be the faces on the screen. Isn't that right, Tom?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, if I end the stream, is it going to play the outro? Don't think it is. Going to have to manually play the outro and end the stream. Until next time then, lads, we will reconvene on Monday. Thanks for being with us. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.